Okay, thank you. Sorry, Claude. Go ahead.
Look, after I did contact Sandy after the last meeting the next day, and asked her if she'd be willing or able to speak at our webinar, and she didn't say yes or no because she said her husband is very, very ill, and she might be going to Rome for the synod, she'll be on the plane on the 28th of September, which is the day we have our webinar, but there's possibility she may not go if her husband doesn't, is too sick or something like that. But it looks like she's going now. So I rang her about 5 times yesterday and again this morning until I finally got a text message to say that I just said, please let me know yes or no, and she said she's going to Rome. So she's not on, and I just wanted to. We might have another suggestion of who could take that role if.
Okay, thank you, Claude.
And I have not contacted Anne Patel-Gray, waiting for Harry to inform me about Glenn.
Well, I've contacted Glenn Loughrey. I think he's okay. He sent me a message, something about he'd have to get his PA to put it in the diary, which wasn't completely clear, but I think I've been trying to get back to him to just confirm absolutely, but it sounds as if it's he's okay, he's good to go, but I'll keep on just to be absolutely sure.
Okay.
But we need to be sure.
Yeah.
Yes, of course we do.
Yeah.
And
so, Harry, can you follow that up within maybe a few more days? Is that
within
possible?
this week, if possible?
Yes.
Well, I'm waiting for a phone call even as we speak for him to return my phone call.
Okay.
But I think he's one of those people that is often hard to get in touch with.
Yes. Yeah.
But I shall keep.
Okay, thanks, Harry. Just keep us informed.
I will.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else wish to speak?
Well, I'd just like to. Oh, go on, David.
Just to say I'm happy to offer something, and the title would be something like deepening our theology of peacemaking.
Okay.
Yes.
Are we discussing the flyer now?
Wait a minute.
No, I think we're just waiting for people to respond to anything. David's going to be doing the, I'm assuming now we're settled on the 3 themes, correct?
Yeah.
But at this stage, we haven't got someone for the common good yet. That's because Sandy was earmarked to speak on that, because I thought she was probably one of the best people to speak on that theme.
Yeah. I think Glenn Loughrey and human rights, I think that'll very much be a focus on the voice and the Aboriginal situation, because that's where he's at.
Yes.
Mentioned Margie Beavis as a possible alternative to Sandy Cornish. So is that something you want to follow up on, the common good?
I'm not particularly happy about that one, I must say, because I don't know whether she would know much about Parchment Terrace. For what she might be good on common good stuff, but I don't even know what her background is in terms of theology, any sort of theology or knowledge of Parchment Terrace. And
I don't. I mean, she's
well, she's not a theologian, but she's a medical doctor.
She's a very good woman, but I'm just saying I'm happy. Yeah,
she's a medic, but she's also, I mean, her focus is on ICANN and nuclear disarmament.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Whether she'd want to talk about the common good, I don't know. I mean, I've heard her speaking on that.
Jill, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to suggest Jan Barnett, who is social justice coordinator or something for the Joseph Arts.
We had Jan Barnett for one of our webinars last year.
Yeah.
He spoke on Fratelli Tutti.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, she would be a possibility. Joan Connolly, Susan Connolly would be another possibility.
Yeah.
I have rang Susan Connolly this afternoon, but she hasn't responded. So, you know, I'm still waiting for her to ring me back. Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
I don't want to be too picky, but I think gender balance would help to have a woman in
Well,
some. in
that's
one
why
of those slots.
that's why I want Susan Connolly, or, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Susan
even
would be
Jan.
good too. Yeah.
Even Jan, yes. Jan was very good when she presented.
Yeah, she was
You know,
good.
Yeah.
But Susan was, I mean, she's very grounded in real situations, isn't she?
Yes.
Well, she has her experience of West Papua and also with and East Timor as well.
Yeah.
You know, so
Mm.
she's
But more importantly,
Both.
if you look at the encyclical, that section on common good, given the times and all that, is focused more on the relationship between the first and the third worlds, but we can use the spirit of the encyclical in terms of understanding common good nationally and within societies. And Susan Connolly, with her experience of East Timor, would relate to that relationship between the rich and the poor kind of thing. At the same
Well, I mean, the whole
Yeah.
thing with Timor is that, I mean, it's an absolute case study in relationships between the first and the third world.
Yeah, that can be part of that. In other words, what I'm saying, she can do a holistic presentation in which East Timor could be a part. I think she would be a good
Yeah.
presenter. Yeah.
And the other person might be Pat Fox too,
Yeah.
because she's worked in the Philippines and
Yes.
worked certainly for the common good there.
Yes. So
Both Jan and Susan are animated and engaging presenters, and I actually prefer their style of presentation to that of Sandy Cornish, who, unless she's altered her style, has always been an academic, serious sort of presentation, which is not very engaging on a webinar.
True. True.
yeah. Okay. Oh, noted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I mean, I
agree
think
with you.
I think that what we're saying is that it's now Susan Connolly
Yeah.
or Jan or Pat in that
Well,
order.
Can
Yeah.
I just offer to look into those two first tomorrow? Okay. So
Yes. Okay. All right. Good on you. Okay. That's great. And we need to bed down Glenn, and we need to bed down the human rights. David, you're home and hosed.
David.
Home and hosed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're home and hosed.
So
You're,
if the others don't come good, you may have to do the lot.
oh no,
So
they'll come.
So we're asking for about 5 to 6 minutes per speaker. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Just to get that clear again. Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the things I was wondering about, whether we can ask people like that to confine themselves to 5 or 6 minutes, or whether we'd have to maybe make it more like 10 and even extend the time a bit to, you know, from 7 to 9 rather than 7 to 8:30.
Yes.
7 to 9 might sound a bit too long.
Yeah.
Sorry?
7 to 9 might sound a bit too long.
Yeah.
7 to 8:30 makes it like appealing in terms of time. They can be finished by
Yeah, but these things are often very frustrating because you get the talking heads and then there's very little time left for real discussion and interaction.
Yeah.
By the time they finish, and you can tell them 5 or 6 minutes, but the chances are they won't confine themselves to that. And if
Let's try. We'll hope anyway. Yeah.
Let's keep on hoping. Yeah.
Depends.
David, what's your comment? Do you have a sense of 5 to 6 minutes enough time for what you might like to say?
Who are you asking?
David.
Oh, me. Well, I'd only be touching on, I want to cover 3 areas, I've decided. And so if they're only going to get 2 minutes each, well, that's life.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what you're proposing is a pretty big subject, and you'll
Yes.
be introducing material that probably a lot of people won't be familiar with.
I'll be 3 things that have probably arisen since Vatican II.
Mm.
You know, they were not in the mind of John the 23rd at all. He was, you know, that we've learned a whole lot of things since.
But essentially related to what John the 23rd had in mind, obviously.
Well, it's building on it, yes.
Yeah, building on it, that's fine.
But it's peacemaking.
Yes. Yes.
I was thinking that if David is taking that broader approach, he could start the batting, let him be the number one, and the other 2 could follow.
Yeah.
The encyclical clearly says human rights and common good are part of peacemaking as a wider.
Yeah.
You know, so David could start the batting, as it were, as the first speaker, and then the other 2 could come in after that.
Yeah.
It would make sense.
You know, if you've only got 3 speakers,
Yes.
10 minutes each would be, you know, not too difficult, and then
No.
still have plenty of time for discussion. If you've got, you know, you at one point it sounded like 4 or 5 speakers, and so it depends. It all depends on what the final decisions are.
Yes.
But in 6 minutes, I could probably only just point in the direction of where the 3 areas I want to talk about would be going.
I think the other 2 speakers, I mean, their area is quite clearly defined. The human rights with a focus on the voice, and then the common good, they seem to be a little more defined than David's is. David could sort of open the canvas, and the other 2 can fit in. So
where are you
in sequence.
From my perspective, and like I'm not really much experienced in organising webinars, other people are. I mean, I think 10 minutes, but is the reason why we're limiting it because we know that they're going to go over the 6 minutes? Is that the idea? Because I think 10 minutes is quite, you know, 5 or 6 only seems very, very brief to me.
Yeah, well, I agree.
Yeah. But that's so. Are we planning a 1.5 hour webinar?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
So,
if you've got 3 speakers with 10 minutes, that's half an hour.
that's right. Yeah. And then we've got another hour for discussion.
Yeah, well, that might be all right then.
Well, you've got things like introducing them, welcome to country,
Okay.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that takes another 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we should make the introductions as brief as we can. I mean, some introductions go on and on and on, but we don't need to do that. 2 sentences should be enough.
Yeah, sure.
I think let's keep to 6-7 minutes, and then with the possibility it might go another minute. But if you say 10, it could become 12, and then it goes on extending. Let's keep 6 to 7.
We could set a maximum of 10 minutes.
I think I'd probably prefer to say 10 minutes because I think it's a bit insulting to say 7.
Yeah.
Caesar, what is it? Are you saying that people just extend their time anyway, mostly?
They would, but then the more time you give, the more extension there's going to be. That's how it works out. So in other words, if 6-7 minutes, it's going to be 6-7 minutes and a bit more. You still control.
Well, I don't honestly know that's necessarily so. I mean, I've watched, at several webinars, both Pax Christi ones and some of the ones that Joe's been organising, and they've been fairly disciplined.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think if we give people a certain time and allow for 1 or 2 extra minutes rather than give them the longer time and then they'll keep going. And I really think that on the whole, from my experiences, people are not always disciplined in these areas. But if we want to have a decent discussion, we need at least to finish it within the first half an hour at least. Yeah.
Well, I suppose that raises the question. Oh, sorry, David, would you say something?
I'm just commenting on my own behaviour, is that I would write out a text, and I normally speak about 100 words a minute. And if I decided I was going to speak for 8 minutes, I'd write an outline text for me to speak, 800 words.
Yeah.
That's the way I do things.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
to me,
what are we envisaging will happen after the speakers?
that's
Are
my
we-
question, Harry. That's my question. What are we envisaging happening
are
after
we-
the speakers?
Envisaging that the speakers will engage with people during the discussion, that people can ask questions and we can ask the speakers to come in on that, so as you have an ongoing engagement.
Yes.
Yes,
And,
that's
and
how it
would that
is.
be,
Yep.
sorry, would that be the whole of the group?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Well, we throw it over to people.
Okay, so it's not going into small groups.
No, I don't think so. Not for that time.
No.
No, I would sort of have them engage. I mean, I don't know how many we'll get, but I think it's better if people are able to put up questions or make statements if they'd rather, than then invite the speakers to comment.
Yes.
Well, the other,
make further points. I mean, sort of.
After each of them or after all of them?
I'd say after all of them.
Right.
Claude?
Can I just ask another question about the themes that we had in our minutes were human rights, common good, and war.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
So what are we doing about war? Is that the theology of
that's
peacemaking?
David Tutty. Yeah,
Okay.
that's David.
Yes.
So would it be better to call that peacemaking rather than
Yes.
war?
Yeah, of
Well,
course.
Where I'm coming from is since Vatican II, there's been a growth and an awareness of a theology that underpins peacemaking.
Yeah, I got that, but yeah, all right. Well, when we come back to talk about the flyer, we can talk about it
Yes.
a bit more.
Yeah.
So, Claude, did you want to say something?
yes, I think it could be very unwieldy if everybody was asking questions and making statements and comments after the speakers. And I think we need to have some mechanism where people put it in a chat line, and then who can I finish? When the facilitator can actually pull out the main questions and direct them towards the speakers, rather than everybody sort of putting up their hands like they are here now,
Yeah.
and not and talking over people. Okay.
Yeah. We have to insist on the chat function or Q&A function, the raise hand function, but it depends on the I think many webinars now, as much as possible, stay on one track. Otherwise, you have questions coming from all directions.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we say that questions will be taken on this track of the Q&A or chat box,
Yes.
then raised hands can be secondary if you wish. But the questions are guided along a path. Otherwise, you get questions coming from all sides.
Well, you don't have the raised hand if you've got the chat box, and that means the facilitator can group several questions together and manage the whole thing.
I think.
What are you trying to say, Claude?
I just think we're just repeating each other. We're just sort of saying the same thing over. I think we're agreeing on this already. So, are we? I just want to know. Are we? I'm sorry, I'm getting angry because are we actually listening to each other right now?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the question that I have is, who is going to be the facilitator?
That's right.
Who has the skills to be a facilitator? Because that's a pretty big job, actually.
Hmm. Well,
Silence.
could I make a suggestion? If we can get Jan Barnett and Susan Connolly, maybe one of them can be the facilitator. Jan Barnett can do I think can do that sort of thing very well as well. You know.
Okay.
If you know, if we can get Susan to speak, and then I can ask Jan to be, you know, she'll be the facilitator if you want me to. You know.
Hmm. The other one is Joe Camilleri actually does this very well. So it could be another possibility.
Okay.
Well, as long as Joe doesn't talk too long, you know.
No.
Yeah, I think that's the other problem.
I've been at webinars where he's done this, and he does it well.
Okay, but I also know he speaks a lot. Yeah, but anyway. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would still put Joe second, third, fourth, not number one yet.
What did you say, Caesar? Sorry.
I would still put Joe at number 2, 3, 4, but not number one yet.
No, he's not. I think Jill was trying to get in.
I think it's also important for whoever's facilitating, or maybe when you're setting it all up, that the speakers get told. I mean, if we're going to have a whole hour for questions, that seems to me rather a lot. However, that the speakers don't get carried away. I've often sat in on webinars and find that speakers just go on and on and on, longer
that's right.
than they do in their own given speaking time. So I think there needs to be some education, should we say, around this, both with the speakers when they, when they're finally engaged, and also for whoever's doing the facilitation. So and the audience, so that they know. Another thing that I've noticed with regard to questions is, I think the Australia Institute do this, and that's you have a Q&A box for your questions, and you can go through as a participant and kind of put a note against them, and then you end up with 6 on one, maybe 1 on another question, which helps whoever's organising the questions to know where the interest of the audience is.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a pretty good facilitator is required. And maybe an upgrade in the webinar arrangement or the Zoom arrangement or whatever. No comment?
I don't know how it works, but it is quite interesting because sometimes you get a lot of questions and you can scroll down them and think, oh yeah, I'd really like to know that, and put a tick against it. But it may be more expensive,
It may require an upgrade for, particularly if the registrations are high, to be able to get those bells and whistles, that might make it easier. But that requires someone with a bit of knowledge about how to conduct these. So if Jan or Susan Connolly know how to do that, Claude?
Well, I can ask. Yeah.
Yeah, tell them that we want a few bells and whistles and we'll pay for it. Agreed?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to be competent and competent so they can explain to the audience how it works. I've been to some PAX Christi, I think it's PAX Christi, it may not be, webinars where the audience are pretty ignorant and they even leave their microphones on and have conversations in the background, which is infuriating.
Yeah.
So the audience will need educating as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or muted.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so
it's possible for the facilitator to mute the lot of people, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's possible for the facilitator to mute everybody.
Yes.
Yes, I'd say
Yes.
so. It's someone that has control we'll be able to mute everyone, but yeah, except the speakers. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that
On mute.
already exists in now.
Yes, yes.
I can
Mm.
I can mute you all now.
I'll do so.
David, have you got any thoughts about our discussion?
If it's all done online, it's all quite difficult really to sort out, when many people want to ask questions. I've come across different mechanisms where they have somewhere else that's offline that they SMS their question to, and then somebody goes through them. But yeah, I don't know. I've never had to do it myself.
Okay. So we just need to ensure that our facilitator is clued up to, all of the questions, or all of the comments that we've made tonight. Okay.
Let's decide. I mean, let's see what Claude comes up with in terms of Jan or Susan.
Yes.
Leave the question of facilitation aside. You need to get the names onto the flyer as soon as possible. That's priority.
They may have their own ideas about how to deal with questions, methods that they prefer to use to deal with.
Yeah, of course.
What I'm saying is that if you were going to talk to Susan Connery about her ability or not to facilitate and all of that discussion that could take place, if she can do it, end of story, that's fine. But if perchance she says, no, it's not my cup of tea or something, we leave it aside for a discussion later. But the priority is to get the names onto the flyer and publicize the flyer.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. All right. So do we want to move on to the flyer then?
I think so, personally.
Okay. All right. Move on. Speak. Forever hold your peace. Katrina, do you want to talk to the flyer?
Well, it's fairly simple, but I'm a bit worried now that saying that the themes in Parchment Terrace that are still very relevant, I mean, they are still relevant and also in Parchment Terrace, but it's not exactly what we're going to talk about. That's all I'm trying to say. We're going to do the theology of peacemaking.
Yeah, I think.
I'm mystified. That's all. I probably
don't be.
Don't be.
I would say, as you put it, a webinar exploring, etc. I would just put it under this Peace on Earth in 2023 and beyond. I would put it this way: exploring themes in Parchment Terrace, still very relevant 60 years on. So
yeah.
Has opened exploring themes in Parchment Terrace, still very relevant 60 years on.
So leave out making that a sentence.
Leave out a webinar, the first word, a webinar, leave that.
I'm not really worried about that bit. I'm more worried about the next bit. Human rights, common good, war.
No, war, I mean, as David suggested, it could be peacemaking.
Right.
Well, I thought
so why are we putting the word war there? That's all.
Well, that's how it came out. But of course, it was going to be the image. David, you were going to talk about wasn't it the God of War?
Yeah.
Well, I will talk about images of God and how they impact upon peacemaking as one part of what I will talk about, yes. But I'm talking about a bit more than that.
Yes. Yes. Okay. That was just a draft, Katrina.
I realise that. I realise that.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily set in concrete. So I think, David, you were going to call it deepening of peacemaking or something.
Deepening our theology of peacemaking.
deepening a theology of peacemaking.
Deepening our, O-U-R, our.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Sounds good.
okay. And so I guess,
So
Caesar, have you got something to say? Do you want to speak?
If you are talking, because Katrina's thing is, we are talking now of layouting and design and so on.
Yes,
If you put human rights as one expression, common good as another expression, and just peace building as one word in place of, and then
yes,
David can amplify that in the webinar.
yes, yes.
Just say
I mean,
human rights. Can I finish? You just say human rights, common good, peace building.
peace building.
Peace building, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just from what David was saying, I think we probably need to say a little bit more than that. Whether God in peacemaking or something like that, but just, I mean, to indicate what he's going to be talking about, which I think will have a lot of interest for people.
Claude?
Well, another way to do it would be to have each of one, when we've determined who the people are, is to put the topic that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mm.
yes.
Because
Claude?
we've got David's, but we haven't got anybody else's.
Yes.
Well, do we?
Claude, sorry, Claude was wanting to say something.
Look,
Claude?
I think, yeah. Thanks. I think the wording of the third talk is too long, and I think if we use the word theology, it could actually, it might be good for some of us to listen to, but other people might be turned off by that. And if we talk about something in terms of peace building, there's nothing to stop David talking about the theology, but I think if we just advertise it as peace building, it's certainly simpler as well, rather than as really,
Yes.
and a really long topic theme.
Yeah. Yeah, can you put your hand up before you speak? That way, then it won't interfere with what other people are trying to say. Then I'll know. So, Jill?
I'm thinking about what it's actually being called, Peace on Earth in 2023 and beyond. And above that, Pat's Christi webinar, I don't think you need the words a webinar again.
No.
I'm struggling with the idea of exploring themes in Parchment Terrace. I'm just thinking, kind of, where are we now and where are we going? That a kind of questioning approach might be more appealing on a flyer. I don't know. It's just
Okay. Harry, speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think there probably could be quite a lot of people who may not really know what Parchment Terrace is. It's 60 years since it came out, and a lot of things have happened in the meantime. So, that itself could discourage people. If it's going to be about a 60-year-old encyclical, there's been so many other things have happened and so many other statements and encyclicals and movements. We could, whether we should say something, a webinar to mark the 60th anniversary of Parchment Terrace, or something like that.
Caesar?
Yes. The audience for this webinar is not, hopefully, if there is, that's great. But the audience for this webinar is not going to be the people you find in the Westfield Shopping Center. They would not know about Parchment Terrace, etc. Point taken. I suspect that the audience for this webinar, given the way we're going to publicize through religious groups and other groups and peace-related groups and Pache and Bene groups, those type, they would have some familiarity with Parchment Terrace. But beyond that, you could see that this discussion of peace is not taking place in an abstract framework, there is a framework of peace on earth and things like that. So it brings the discussion down to peace and how it could relate to people like us who will be in this webinar. We're going to get the hoi polloi coming to this. So let's talk about in terms of the audience, the prospective audience for this one.
David?
I'm just struggling with something Claude said a few minutes ago. If they're, depending on who you think the audience is, I don't think theology would be a difficult word. And I think what's happened in a number of church teachings since Parchment Terrace, basically it's been a growing theology that can be named as peace building, if you like, in this case. Basically, Parchment Terrace is an implicit theology. The more you read it, you know, though it talks about natural law, it's a theology, and it's within the church context. And if you're going to ignore theology, well, I don't know why you're doing a webinar on this particular document.
I want to say that theology could be substituted with the word spirituality. Spirituality would cross barriers other than, you know, that build of theology that you're talking about, David. It would cross over into common space. Claude, do you want to say something?
Well, I wasn't saying we can't talk theology. I was just putting it as the advertisement on the flyer. That was all. But I'm not saying we don't dismiss it. I'd be the first person not to to oppose that. But I think, but I'm happy with any other suggestion. Look, I'm just leaving it to you guys.
Jill.
I tend to agree with Claude. I don't think we need to limit it to just kind of people like us, do we? I mean, I'd like to see the people in Westfield discussing these things without all the Catholic trimmings around it. I mean, I'd never heard of Parchment Terrace until not all that long. Well, till I joined Christi, I'd never heard of it. I wasn't born Catholic, I need to say. I think people who are interested in this kind of thing can put their own kind of spirit. I think spirituality is good. I like that. I'd also somehow like to see the word non-violence in there somewhere, because I think that's integral to all these human rights, common good, peace building. But it's difficult finding words that can suit everybody. So I'm happy to let you all decide.
Okay. See, I don't know who had their hand. I think Caesar and then Harry. Caesar?
Very briefly, let's not get into the business of making the perfect the enemy of the good. If you got a flyer that communicates a good percentage, a good part of what we want to say, and as we said before, as Claude has repeated, let's make it simple. Rights, common good. If you want to remove war, put peace building or non-violence, doesn't matter. And it can amplify all those things that he has to say. It doesn't need to be said in the flyer.
No.
That's right.
Yeah. And Harry?
Yeah, well, just two things. One is that, I mean, I feel that putting something like spirituality and making it clear that that's the way it's going to go, I mean, I think that would actually attract people. It would say that we're saying something that other people aren't saying. So, I mean, the other thing I think it's forgetting is that these days, a lot of people who aren't in the Catholic community may very well not have heard of Pachymenteris or be familiar with Pachymenteris. And I mean, I remember very well when it came out, but I'm now 82 years of age. There's, you know, a heck of a lot of people who have grown up who may be very involved in peacemaking and all that, and the spirituality of peacemaking, but they may not be familiar with Pachymenteris. So I think you just have to be aware of that.
Okay, Claude.
I would probably suggest that there are many Catholics who've never heard of Pachymenteris.
Yeah. Okay.
But we need to tell them. It's like people say Pax Christi doesn't, you know, like tell them what it means. Pachymenteris means peace on earth. It's simple, but you know.
Well, maybe we should put that in the flyer storing and make it clear. Describe it as John the 23rd's encyclical Pachymenteris, and then in brackets peace on earth.
Well, we haven't got Pachymenteris on the flyer, and I think it's okay as it is, you know.
No, we have got Pachymenteris on the flyer.
On the one I'm looking at.
In the second line, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
but not as the main peace on earth thing. Yeah?
No, but still the second, the second line is very important for getting the message over exactly what it is. That's all.
So, Katrina, do you want to say something?
I think there should be as little as possible on the flyer.
Yes.
So it's attractive to people and it's clear.
Yes.
I don't think we have to put everything that everyone's going to talk about on the flyer. It's probably better to put photos of the speakers on the flyer because then people know, who they're going to listen to. I'm not sure now that we need. I think that I put that second bit in because I thought this webinar was going to be celebrating Pachymenteris' 60 years anniversary. So I felt it had to go in somewhere.
Okay.
But we never need to mention it. We don't need to mention it again, except another question I'd like to ask is, are we going to prescribe pre-reading for Caesar's article?
Caesar?
Yeah, I was going to make a suggestion, Katrina. The fewer words at the top helps more space at the bottom. If at the bottom of the flyer, you mention the article. So this is what I'm suggesting. We could have at some place there at the bottom or wherever, 2 dots. And my article is headed Pachymenteris, a prophetic legacy for our times.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could have a first dot. C, the name of the article, C, Pachymenteris, a prophetic legacy for our times.
Right.
In Disarming Times, September 23.
With a link.
And then give a link to that.
Well, if Disarming Times can go
Let me finish, Harry.
Yeah.
So that's first dot. And the second dot could be a link to the encyclical itself. So Pachymenteris encyclical link. So these get onto the flyer. And that will be, and you can use the word somewhere as backgrounding.
Yeah, that's
Well, if Pachymenteris can, if Disarming Times can be on the website, then it's quite simple. Just put the link in.
Yeah, it's is it the lead article, because the link will go to Disarming Times. I'm not sure how. I'd have to think about a link that would link the article directly.
No, just a link to Disarming Times, I think, is quite adequate.
Okay.
You
Okay.
could put the pages, I suppose.
Yeah, well, that's easy enough to
PP.
look through. Not a big deal.
It's the lead article. Is it going to be the lead article, Harry?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But it'll be in it.
Okay. All right. That's a problem. Claude?
Look, I don't know all these ins and outs, but is it possible to have the article separate as a JPEG or whatever it is, so which you can then we can get a link directly to the article rather than people have to rifle through the Disarming Times to find the article, on digitally. That's just I don't know if it's possible.
Well, I can see what I can do. But that's why I asked the question if it's a lead article, because the current link for Disarming Times goes to the full Disarming Times, right? And it does mean that there is only one, but that would be something that I can work on and see. It may be I can put it on another page and link it.
That's right.
Yeah, but I just have to, I haven't done that sort of thing other than, so I just have to explore that, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Okay. Caesar?
I just want to make an observation as to, I'm wondering why, given that this webinar is a major activity in the next few days, few weeks of Pax Christi, not anybody else's, it's our activity. And given that that Parliamentaris is foundationally linked with Pax Christi and its history, and that is mentioned in the article in some way. Wondering why that article could not be the first article in Disarming Times, unless there's something even more important. But if you put it as the first article, the first piece in Disarming Times, it'll be easier for people to see it.
That's
Well,
yeah.
Yes.
The planning to put the first article is a reflection by Lockery on the Voice, which of course is very eminent. And I thought that was important to do that.
Yes.
With no disrespect to the Caesar's article. I mean,
yeah. Can you just wait until I work out how to do this without necessarily changing this to Disarming Times? I don't know. Like there could be a way of providing a link on that flyer that will take the person, because this is a digital thing. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a digital flyer that we're going to make. And the same with Parliamentaris. I'm pretty sure I can create, I think I can, but let's see what happens.
Well, if you're going to put the flyer on the website, as I presume you would, I mean, can you not put the article with the flyer?
Yeah, well, that's right. There may be ways in which I can do that. So can we leave that at the moment and just say that I will explore what's possible?
Yep.
Okay. And
It's not fun. I'm just playing with it, and it just comes up as a front page. And you just scroll down on it, so it wouldn't be challenging.
yeah. Okay. Katrina.
We've only got 28 days after tomorrow, 27 days. So we need to get into action about this and finalise who these people are.
Yes, that's a high priority.
That's the priority here.
Yes. So that requires, I think, that to be locked in before
Yes.
at the beginning of next week.
Yeah.
So that, Katrina, are you happy to work on the flyer still?
Yeah. I'll work on it, and then I'll hand it over to you.
to do all that other fiddly bits.
I suppose, do we do the try booking bit? Do we?
Yeah,
do-
I was going to suggest that there will be a space needed for human ticks is the go-to place for
Yeah, that's right.
so I can organize that. I'll make that one of my tasks because if you do not charge, it's free.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I will, it's a registration system. I think you need a registration system for this. Okay. So there's a number of tasks. We need to lock in all of the speakers. We need to, that's the first priority. When we do that, the flyer needs to be completed. We agreed that we're still going to just stick to the 5 to 6 minutes communication from the speakers.
Yeah.
Have we agreed?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's not resounding, but nobody else is saying anything else, so we stick to it. Then following, oh, sorry, David. Yes.
If you say that, I will only present 6 minutes. I won't go a moment over.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. You might have lots of questions.
But
Okay.
in some way,
Okay.
What's
Sorry.
possible to present in 6 minutes is very little, really.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah. well,
I think it is. Personally, I think it should be more, but I bow to. Eh? What do you?
I think it should be 10 minutes and
Yeah.
told
Yeah.
that they will be curtailed after 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think the facilitator, if the
happens.
facilitator is on the ball, that they will be on, able to rein them in, hopefully.
Yeah. And also facility to perhaps allow them to go on a little if it seems to be adding a lot, if you know what I mean. Give them another minute or something, or say, well, look, we'll take that further in the questions.
Yes. It's just that my experience with webinars is that sometimes questions are slow to come. They don't flow out easily. You get, so, okay, Harry?
I was just going to say, I think it's perfectly possible for the facilitator to just remind them they've got 1 minute to go. I mean, Joe does this in his webinars, and it seems to work quite well. You think the speakers are going on, he politely intervenes and says, only a couple of more minutes. Can you conclude? And that seems to work perfectly well. So,
So
I mean, 10 minutes.
Okay, so there's question about the length. Now, 6 minutes was agreed upon, but is there now room to extend it or not? We need a show of hands. Who wants to extend it?
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep. 10 minutes, and we ask the facilitator to be on the ball.
Yeah.
Yes.
At 9 minutes.
At 9 minutes.
At 9 minutes.
You can prepare for 10 minutes, David, if that's what you do.
I'll prepare for 900 words, 9 minutes.
Oh.
Okay.
We're saying a maximum of 10 minutes. They're not compelled to do 10 minutes if they don't want to.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we've settled on that now. What next? So the flyer. We need to have another meeting probably next week, I'd say. Harry, yeah?
Just before we leave the flyer, I wonder if with each speaker, do we need to have a sentence just saying who they are? Because a lot of people won't know. I mean, Sydney people won't know who Glenn Loughry is, and possibly, or David is, and, Melbourne people may not know who David is, or whoever we, or people who aren't, within the circle, as it were.
Jill.
You just have a little picture of each person with a, it doesn't have to be in big writing. Those people who
No.
want to read it can do. Have a little picture of each one with a little bit about each one.
One sentence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's in your court, Katrina.
I'll have a
Good
go
luck
at
with that. Okay.
Katrina, do you want one sentence sent to you?
Yeah.
You can send me a sentence if you like, David.
Okay.
I would put after you theologian, something else, maybe.
Well, missiology is my major.
Missiology.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will organise human texts. Is there anything else?
The date for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Well,
Date
there
for
is-
the next meeting.
Who are we advertising this to? Who are we trying to?
Oh,
I think
Whoever.
well, there are networks. I'm sure you in Victoria have networks. Jill
I
has
do.
networks. We have networks. David, you have networks.
Yep.
Katrina, you have networks.
We've got address lists, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Caesar, what do you say?
Yep. I mean, all the networks, I would include CRA, the Catholic Religious Association. There are lots of networks.
Yeah, but who would take, I mean, we can do it, say for New South Wales, we can, mark it. I guess it would be good to know which areas you will be marketing once we get the flyer going. So maybe we can just finalise that at our next meeting to think about.
Oh, needs to go out
Yes,
before then.
Claude, what?
well, I would be asking people like Susan Connolly to put it through the Australian Catholic Social Justice Council, the
Yeah.
Bishops' Association, this sort of stuff, So,
Yes, okay,
like,
but we can, yeah,
and
all right.
also, and also Julie Mackin from the Justice of Peace Office in the Archdiocese of Sydney. She's
Okay.
very good at that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So there's quite a number of networks we can send this flyer to once we get it and set up the registration.
Yep.
Okay. So next meeting, availabilities.
My only day next week is Wednesday.
Okay. I
Or
was
Friday.
thinking of that in my mind, actually. I don't know why. I don't know.
We've got the Palestinian thing. We've got the Palestinian thing on Tuesday, and then I've got a public meeting at the Pitt Street Uniting Church on Thursday. So that's for me. That Wednesday is the only day, but I don't have to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wednesday suits me. Is Wednesday okay for everyone?
Is that the 6th we're talking about?
Yes, it would be. Is that all right for you, Caesar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maggie, David.
If you're
David.
thinking of 6 o'clock, I would come late. I've got a 5 p.m. Parish social justice group that I'm chairing on the Wednesday.
Okay.
I would
Well,
come
can we make it 6:30?
Yeah. I've got
Would
a
that suit?
funeral all that day. On one of our nuns.
Oh, sorry.
But that's all right. But I'll be all right at 6:30. That's fine.
6:30 suit you,
Thank you.
everyone?
Yep.
Okay, so it's Wednesday at 6:30. I'll send round. I will do a summary of the minutes. I'm not going to do a verbatim for sure. And I'll send you the link
Yeah, thanks,
again.
Maggie.
You can
Thank
all
you.
watch it and
Thank
see
you.
yourselves. Okay, closing. No other business? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
And we'll see you next Wednesday, if not before.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Right, bye.
Bye-bye.